Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 263 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be hacking on Firefox things today, maybe looking at some telemetry probes. I'm going to be answering some viewer questions. It's going to be great. I also have something new to show off, which I don't know how it's going to work out because it arrived like an hour ago, and I've just sort of plugged everything in, so I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'll get to that in a second. Let me start actually by sharing my screen. Okay. Hang on. So let me add a bullet here. New toy to show off. But first, before we get into that, a reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I kind of know what I want to do today. I have a general layout of things I want to do, but things might go horribly wrong, and that's okay. That's the name of the game with this stream. Where I will just try and adapt and do my best to get through some bugs. And we might get sidetracked, we might get distracted, we might get blocked on things, or we might get, who knows, we might close some bugs. We'll see. But that's just the name of the game. We're capturing software development in the raw, warts and all. The second thing is that the agenda that we're looking at is something that you have access to. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, check out the details section to my left. I always point in the wrong direction. To my left, my right, your left. If you're watching this on YouTube, check the video description. And if you're watching this on Twitch, then the link, I should always just have this in my clipboard, but the link is right here. Let me just drop this into the Twitch chat. There you go. And hopefully that shows up in the Twitch chat. Yes, it looks like it did. That's the first thing. The second thing is that there is an episode guide. If you are, curious about maybe things that I've covered in other episodes, maybe you have your own corrections or addenda that you want to add. Maybe I made a mistake in this episode and you want to like follow up on something and like, correct me and say like, well, Mike said this, but in actuality, this is actually the case. There is an episode guide for you to do exactly that sort of thing. It's completely viewer driven and it's available on GitHub. So you can view the episode guide as it is right now by following the link in the agenda that I just linked to. In fact, let's check it out right now. Here's the episode guide. We've got all the way up to episode 260. And there's like a bunch of Q&A and stuff in here and like some tips and other things that I talked about. And you might yourself want to contribute to the episode guide. If you'd like to do that, you can do that. It's hosted on GitHub. You can send me a pull request, and I will happily merge your suggestions in, your additions in. And if you're not sure how to do that, if you're not sure what a pull request is or how to do that, there are links in the agenda here on guides that can help you through it. That's the first thing. The episode guide. I want to show off my new toy. So, for the longest time, anytime I've needed to like draw a thing, like maybe if I've wanted to include a drawing and like show a diagram or something, I would like draw with my mouse and it would be really sloppy and I might try and draw words and it'd be awful. But I recently cashed in some rewards points and I got some recommendations on some hardware and I have a new drawing tool. So if all goes well, and I just plugged this stuff in, and I just downloaded this software. It's called Krita. It's like a open source cross-platform drawing and painting software. And this should work if yeah, there we go. That's a big brush. Let me try something a little bit lighter. Test. Test. All right, I'm still kind of getting used to it. I need to, get better at it. But soon I'll be able to like draw boxes and be like, okay, this is where the dock shell, starts, and then we've got like a tree of dock shell. Like I can do this stuff now, which I think will be handy for explaining things or answering questions. So, yay! I'm pretty excited. I do need to adjust. You can't tell here, but I've realized now that my microphone boom is down, is that it's in the way. I'm gonna have to like reorient my entire space so that I don't have to like reach under my microphone boom in order to draw. But details. We'll figure that out as we go. So if you have questions that I can answer with drawing, now I can do that. So let me now go back to my screen over here. So I've done that. it is a what's called a Wacom tablet, or a Wacom Cintiq 16. If you're curious, it was pretty pricey, but again, I was able to cash in some rewards, some credit card rewards and stuff. This is not like a thing that I got through work. This is like my own personal hardware. So, you know, I can do like cartooning or something in my off hours. Okay, so what are we working on today? I have a couple of neat infos on me to update some probes, some telemetry probes. So we're going to look at that. So what is a telemetry probe? A telemetry probe is a thing that we put into Firefox to measure usage, measure performance, to measure, you know, behavior out in the wild, so that, you know, features that we might not be sure how people are using them or whether or not they're even using them, we add probes to like get information on it. And some of this information is actually, you can view it yourself. If you go to telemetry.mozilla.org, there's something called the measurement dashboard. You can go here and you can like open up some of the measurement dashboards, and whoops, that should not have done that. Picture in picture, like you can look at a histogram for how many, like over a period of time, say from September 6th to September 16th, this is a histogram of like the maximum number of concurrent picture-in-picture players that users on beta had open. I've got beta selected here. We can look at nightly as well. We can't look at release because I think there's a problem with viewing release. Either we don't collect this probe on release, or we just don't have access to the release data here. But at any rate, we can look at nightly and we can look at beta. And we can see that like the vast majority of users, for example, or the vast majority of clients, I should say, because there can be multiple users per client and there can be multiple clients per user. Like you can't really map one-to-one the number of like things sending a telemetry packet to people. So we're gonna use the word client. The number of individual clients between September 6th and September 19th, most of them, the vast majority of them, say 98.35%, according to this histogram, use at most, when they're using picture-in-picture, they use at most one window. So they aren't taking advantage of the fact that we allow multiple picture-in-picture player windows. But that's not all of them. Some people do. Some people have two concurrent player windows. 1.35% of clients between September 6th and 19th had a maximum of two concurrent picture-in-picture player windows. And that's it's a very steep drop-off. Like we go from 98.35% of samples down to 1.35% samples down to like 0.14. Like it's like orders of magnitude drop-off as you go. A pretty steep tail. I don't know if there's like a logarithmic way of viewing this, but what we can also do is we can look at the evolution over time of, say, well, let's not look at the median. The median is for the most part 1, but if we look at like the 95th percentile, well, I guess this isn't a very good probe to measure because most people just use 1 when they use it at all. So let's use a different probe. All of the different ways that people opened picture-in-picture. No, how about all the different ways that people closed picture-in-picture? Because there are different mechanisms that we record whenever you close picture-in-picture. And how do I do that? How do I view this? Did we just stop measuring this? We may have stopped measuring this one. What about open method? Yeah, I think this one expired, which is maybe part of the problem here. Picture-in-picture closed method. Except I did see it in the evolution view here. For beta. Opened method now. Okay, so the dashboard here could use a little work. Oh, you know what? I remember what it is. It's the number of people is actually too small. If we remove trimming small buckets, and we remove trimming sanitize the data. No, I don't actually know what's going wrong here. I don't know why it's showing, it's not showing up correctly. But basically, the vast majority of users are accessing picture-in-picture via the toggle, which shouldn't be super surprising. The context menu is not used as much. I just wish that this visualization actually showed it off. For some reason, the distribution, I wanted to show you the distribution, but it's not showing up. So that's kind of disappointing. Anyways, that's all to say that we have a bunch of probes that measure different things. And one of the probes that we want to renew is whether, like, a probe that captures certain types of events. Like, a user has created a picture-in-picture window, a user has resized a picture-in-picture window, and a user has moved a picture-in-picture window. And we can use this information to make, to measure things like, well, first of all, how many people are using the feature? How many people are finding that the initial window is not the size that they need it to be? And how many people are finding that the initial position is not where they need it to be and they need to move it around? These were actually very useful whenever we were, we landed a feature about a year ago where we remember the position of the last picture-in-picture player window that closed. And then we saw changes in some of these probes, which is pretty interesting. And so one of the things that happens is, because we have what are called lean data practices, these probes are automatically set to expire. Like, we have very strict thresholds on what it is that we are willing to collect and for how long. And we throw data away after a certain number of months because, if you don't need it, you shouldn't have it, so you throw it away. And in this particular case, we think that these probes are valuable enough to make part of our permanent collection, what we call, permanent probes, permanent collection probes, because they're about to expire. In fact, according to 13 days ago, the telemetry probes bot said that these probes are going to expire whenever nightly becomes 95. Right now, nightly is 94, I believe. So it's kind of looking ahead and saying, hey, these things are about to expire when the next nightly bump occurs. So we should make some kind of decision here on what to do with these probes. I asked around, do we still want them? And our product people were like, yes, we still care about these. Let's make these permanent probes. So that's what we're going to do to start. I'm going to show you the process for making these probes permanent. So these 3 probes, these are what are called event probes, or event, it's like event telemetry, and they're defined in this YAML file in our source code, events.yaml. And so there's lots of different things that we measure, and some of them is opt-out, some of it is opt-in, and the ones for picture-in-picture are down here. And it's all documented, like what we measure, and the bug numbers that are associated, that they're associated with, and what the values are and what processes they're recorded in and which products. It's actually interesting. Like, we should definitely not be recording this with Fennec anymore. Fennec is no longer a product that exists. So I can already start updating this probe description because it's way out of date. And probably this we never used this probe, as far as I can tell, on Fennec. So let me actually just double check that, make sure no one else is using this probe somehow in the mobile, in the mobile code. It would be very surprising if they were. You can see us recording it in this particular case in created. I think it's inside of picture-in-picture.jsm, and scalar. No, I'm wrong. It's not here. Where do we record the event? Maybe it's in player.js, the actual player window. Yeah, we say we're recording events, and then we record, here's a helper method that does it. Yeah, record, resize, create, that sort of thing. And so, is there anyone using services, telemetry, record event, picture-in-picture in our mobile code? I would be very surprised if they were. Yeah, I don't see that happening there. We can actually even also check the Phoenix code just in case somehow they've got access to it. It doesn't look like they're using this stuff at all. So we can just straight up remove Fennec, I think, from the list. It wouldn't even make sense, if Phoenix was somehow using it, it still wouldn't be recorded because The product name is different, so I don't even know why I looked at Phoenix in the first place. So I'm going to just get rid of that as a starter. And then for expiry version, instead of 95, we're going to put in never. So this thing will never expire. And we also have to like include the bug number where we're making these various decisions. So I'm going to put this bug number in. And we're going to do the same thing with the resize event and the move event. Get rid of Fennec there. And I think that's it. That's all that needs to be done here, except like that's what needs to be done in the code, and we can build it and make sure it works. So we'll build, because that actually, this YAML file is used to generate C++ and JavaScript bindings and like all of this stuff, like WebIDL bindings, to make it easy to set these sorts of probes from both CSS, from C++ and JavaScript. I'm also noticing that my background is really poor. I think my lighting is off. Just give me one quick second. While this is building, I'm going to just try and adjust my lighting a little bit. 1 second. Okay, it's a little bit better. I've got the spot on my forehead, but I can probably adjust that a little bit using some of my camera tricks. Hold on a second. I apologize for wasting time on this part. There we go. There we go. Just balance. There we go. Okay. So we've got our build. And now, if you actually want to see what it's like whenever these things are being recorded, there's like an interface to see that sort of stuff. So if you go to about:telemetry, telemetry, you can see that there's like a bunch of stuff in here that you can look at, including one called events. And there are already a bunch of events that have been recorded. And if I go to youtube.com, I'm just going to pick like some Mozilla Firefox. Just here.
What do developers build on
blah blah blah. I don't want to hear it. I just want to click on the picture-in-picture toggle, move this around. I'm going to resize it. So I will have done all three. I've done the move, the resize, and the create. So if I reload this, we should see some yeah, here we go. Create, move, resize, move. And there we go. That's working properly. So we can quit. So what we do then is we create a patch for this bug. Whoops, what is the bug number? 1730039. Bump expiries on some picture-in-picture probes. Actually, no, to be more accurate, we're not bumping the expiries. We're make picture-in-picture event probes never expire. And I'm gonna have who can review this. I mean, Mark Streamer has worked with me a little bit on picture-in-picture stuff, so, and this is a reasonably straightforward, almost like a rubber stamp style of review for the code review part of it. But then there's the data review part of it, which we're gonna have to look into next, of like, how do we get approval from our data stewards to make this transition from a like expiring probe to a non-expiring probe. I see a question in the audience. How long have I had this office chair? You've probably noticed, if you saw when I was away, that the office chair looks pretty decrepit. Like it's falling to pieces. It's pretty cheap. This was a cheap office chair that I got when I was a student, and I'm only using. I thought I probably should have invested in a new office chair when I realized I'd be working from home for so long. But instead I got this tablet. Hey. All right. Yeah, but this chair is from back when I was in school. I've had it for a long, long time. And it serves me well. It's comfortable. It's not the best office chair, though. Ergonomically speaking, I could probably do a lot better. Okay, so we've got this patch. Let's take a quick peek at it. You know what? This font's way too small. Let's pump this up so you can see it better. Okay, so the patch, as we said, is removes these things. It sets the bug. It sets never on the expiry. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And we can go ahead and submit this for review. Yeah, okay. Mozfab submit. Tip. Single. That'll do it. And then the other thing we need to do is we need to submit a data review request. So data review, I have to sort of remember how this works. Request, because there are different kinds of requests. There's data review, there's data renewal request. So this is, I think, what we want to do now is a renewal request. But because it's a slight difference in we're not just bumping it to another version, we're making it so it's never, it's possible that our data stewards are going to come back and say, okay, we need greater justification for this. But for now, I will use a data renewal request. So the way that works is I will attach a new file. It's just like data renewal request. And then I can just like dump the text in here. So the way you do that is you like look at the actual raw markdown. We put it in here. Get rid of this note. All questions are mandatory. Yes. Provide a link to the initial data review request for this collection. So thanks to this sort of chain of bugs, I can point to this one probably. Add telemetry to measure usage. Here's the data review request from 2 years ago. So here's the link. When will the collection now expire? The collection will now never expire. Why was the initial period of collection insufficient? Product deems the picture-in-picture feature worth persistent measurement, worth perpetual measurement. Since it's a well-loved differentiating feature that we still want to iterate on and improve. Okay, so I will say data review request, and I'm going to choose Megan McCorkadale as my data reviewer. And we'll see how that does. So that's how probe expiry and like making sure that, you know, we go through all the proper channels, how that works. Like it's not just like other software shops where you just like, you know, measure everything and measure the world and hold on to it forever and run analysis on it forever. We have very, very strict data collection practices. We call our lean data practices. And you can find more about lean data here. Lean data practices. Okay, now we have a similar thing going on here with some other probes. I'm just going to kind of blast through those. I'm not going to explain necessarily again what is happening, but it's very similar. You know, these probes are about to expire, so let's check them out. Now this one I don't think we will want to make expire forever. I'm just going to bump the expiry. So what kind of probes are these? There's two kinds. There's a histogram. I can tell because it's in this form of all caps with underscores. That's the old way of doing probes, histogram probes. And then there are these, which I believe are events. I could be wrong. No, they're not events. They're what are called scalars, for which we only record once. About home cache result, right? Yeah, scalars. Okay, and so for these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump it out a couple of releases, because at some point I'm going to eventually make it so that I can run this experiment that I want to do with the About Home Startup Cache, but I haven't had a chance to get around to it yet. So I'm going to bump this out by a couple of months. Ideally, you bump it out by 6 months from the point of expiry. So if we look at the calendar, 6 months from now is September, October, November, December, January, February, March, sometime towards the end of March. So which release is going to be sometime at the end of March? Well, it looks like it's going to be probably, you know, I can choose Firefox 100. Firefox 100! Woo! So that's what I'm going to do, 100. And we're going to add this bug to the list up here. Yeah, Firefox 100. It's going to be interesting because we don't actually know. There's actually an experiment underway right now to see how websites are going to react to suddenly 3 digits in the user agent string. We're actually right now, I think I don't know if there are any other probes that are testing the 100. Oh, there is. There's one from MKV can play, and they're tested to work with version 100, so we're good. I was like, are we the first probe to be expiring in 100? But no. So that's 2. I've done this one, and then there's shutdown right, which is also a scalar. Shutdown right. Okay. So, oh, I forgot to put the bug in this last one. Shutdown right, and it's this bug. There you go. And then we will call this one bump expiry of About Home Startup Cache probes. And I'll have Heis review these. These are pretty straightforward. Again, the patch is not that interesting. It's more of a rubber stamp. What's more interesting is the data collection review. Okay, so let's post this up for review. And then we're going to do another data collection, data renewal form. And in fact, we might be able to crib from an earlier one because we've done this before. Yeah, data collection renewal request. I did this 4 months ago. So I'm actually going to just crib this whole thing. Just kicking the can down the road. And the only reason, I just haven't had time to do the experiment yet, which is kind of a pain, but you know, we'll get to it. Data collection renewal request. Firefox 100. Okay. Data review. Again, I'll ask Megan McCorkadale. Review. Okay. So that's 2. And then the third one I want to look at, 1, 2, is this one for tab closing. Yeah, and I will take this bug for myself. So these are both, again, histograms. You can tell because of the style that they've been defined in. And we're going to renew these. We're going to bump them out again. And in fact, I think this is another situation where we can just crib off the last renewal request. Expire and version, we're going to go 100. We're going to supply that bug number. We're going to find this one. Same dealio. 100. I'm also going to remove Eric Smythe transferred to a different group, so I'm going to remove him from the from the alert emails. And let's take a look. Looks right to me. Bug such and such, bump expiry on tab closing probes. We'll have Heist review this one as well. And let's take a look. Again, we can crib off probably the renewal request the last time we did this 4 months ago. So there's some conversation going on in Matrix about the 100 version number and how that might impact websites out in the wild. Smurf D's like, woohoo, 100. And then Diridi Bindi says, yeah, expect broken legacy websites. Well, it's possible. It's very possible. It could totally happen. I'm hoping not. And in fact, that's what the study is for. I don't know if I'm participating in this study right now. Am I? Oh, I am. I am participating in the study. Oh, that's great. You can check if you're participating in the study by going to about:studies. So let's see what my user agent is. Navigator.useragent. Well, that's not right. It's saying 94. How does... Oh, I wonder if I'm part of the control. I might be part of the control. The control branch. Which would make sense. All right. Let's see here. This should have my patch showing up soon, but in the meantime, we can just fill in the data collection renewal request. And then we're just going to say that instead of expiring in 95, we're expiring in 100, so we're kicking the can. Okay, and then we'll have Megan McCorkadale review this one as well. One of our illustrious data stewards. We take data collection and privacy very seriously. Why isn't this showing up yet in Bugzilla? I wonder if there's like a delay. Yeah, there's a delay. Well, it'll show up eventually. Okay, so we've made great progress. It wasn't like super complicated stuff. It was mainly like just sort of crossing T's and dotting I's, but we've gotten the probes, patches for updating the probes up. Our data review requests are up. And you know what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to open a new window, keep my email open in the background just to see if we can get approval for any of these things. We may even land them before the episode concludes. We'll see. Nothing yet. Nope. Okay. So there's this other bug that someone had CC'd me on or need-info'd me on about a memory leak. Now, I'm not the greatest sort of memory detective out there, but I've never seen this bug before. I don't know what we're going to see. Let's check it out, though. So this was originally filed in Core, DOM, Core, and HTML 2 years ago. Jeez. So, and then I've been part of a conversation in here. And then 23 days ago, okay, so it looks like, so I don't remember this conversation at all. I'm gonna have to kind of refresh my memory of what's going on in here. So the user restarts their browser one time over many days. It may work for 2 weeks. I've noticed that I uses too much memory. I measured memory usage after start, then I surf after I've worked. I closed all open tabs except about memory and measured again. I expect I can get memory back after closing a tab, but memory usage by the main process isn't reduced, it's increased. And then I asked whether or not DevTools is open. I said, yeah, I'm usually using DevTools. I noticed this problem in several different profiles. On the first profile, I rarely open DevTools. I use this to surf internet like regular user. In the second profile, I often use DevTools as a developer. They also have some web extensions. They also view different pages and different profiles. I'm not seeing anything particularly unusual about the memory report end report in your latest attachment. At the point where you gathered it, were you experiencing excessive memory usage? How much? After some work, it is such and such. So the difference is 103 megabytes. It is a quick test. When I use the stable version, that difference between start usage and current usage becomes more bigger because I use it not for 5 minutes, but for a few days. Browser's still using this 1 gigabyte despite close all tabs and wait 30 minutes. If you could capture the before and after states of this situation, you have the heavier usage one. And then they came back. Now it's more than 900 megs. Okay, let's take a look at the memory report. It's not often that a user comes back from, having not commented for like years, and then they follow up. So that's nice. About memory. What was this thing called? 30. Where did I put it? In documents. Where? You know what I should do? Let's make it easier to find by... I think what you can do is you can like drag... Here's a trick. You can drag stuff into the... Like if you drag into the... Oh, come on. Why couldn't you open it? I guess maybe it's gzipped? Okay, there we go. Start. Here's memory report restart, memory report.json. So I don't know which one's the before and the after. I presume this, let's look at this one first. So load, and then I will drag this into here, and then I can do that. Okay, so we are now looking at a memory report. And again, I'm not very good at these, to be abundantly clear, to be very honest. I'm not very good at understanding these. But we'll do what we can. So the first thing that jumps out is that there's a bunch of heap unclassified, which is not good. Heap unclassified is basically dark matter. We don't know what this stuff is. And there's like 639 megs of it. So we're not sure what that is. There's one browser window and it's detached. There's a detached browser window. So something, to me, that's like a leaking browser window. And then there are a couple of other browser windows that are open, but they are attached. There are a bunch of objects in this detached window. Event listeners. And there are a whole bunch of extensions in here. Some of these are ones that like we ship built in, like the picture-in-picture one. In fact, most of these are the built-in ones. These two are not. The web extension process doesn't look that bad. Privileged content doesn't look that bad. Actually looks really good comparatively. RDD process doesn't. So it's really the main process that's looking pretty rough, and most of it's in this heap unclassified. So that's what I'm going to write. Basically, my conclusion is, so I'm going to say, thank you also IJW. Thanks also IJW for coming back with the memory report. Oh, we should look at the other memory report as well. There was There was the one after the restart, presumably. Yeah, see, you can see the main process is like only 212 megs. I'd say it's a lot of heap unclassified, and that window, that leaking window, you don't see a detached window here. Okay. So two things jump out to me from this memory report. One, there's about 639, so 640 megs, about 640 megs of heap unclassified in the parent process. This is effectively dark matter that the memory report can't tell. That this is effectively dark matter, and the memory report can't tell what it is. Two, there's a detached window. There's a detached browser window. Holding 146, holding about 146 megabytes of memory alive. Apparently holding. So we're leaking. So that sounds like a window leak. So that sounds like a window leak to me. Now at this point, I don't exactly know what to do. Like I have analyzed it and seen the problem, but this is almost like seeing a crime scene, and like, you know, there's just like broken glass everywhere, and all of the jewelry's been stolen, and you know, there's a giant hole in the wall, and you kind of have to work backwards. Like, how did we get here? And you only have like this one picture of the crime scene. I don't have like the ability to walk through the crime scene. I can't replay the crime scene, which is a pain. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to redirect to one of our memory experts. Hey, McCrate, does anything else jump out at you from this memory report? In fact, I'm going to attach the attach that memory report. I extracted the memory report that has the heavier memory usage and attached it above. So from this, anything else jump out at you from this memory report? So I'm going to redirect the need info to McCrate. Now, McCrate is one of our like memory experts who might be able to give the reporter some tips on things they could try to see if they could, you know, suss out what's going on with the heap unclassified. Smurfd asks, do you, from experience, know what can be in this heap unclassified? It's not really my wheelhouse. It's not a thing I know a whole lot about. What I do know is that we have some tools to try and determine what that stuff is. We have something called dark matter detector, which is a variant. Like you build Firefox in a special way to track down what those heap unclassified things are. It basically creates much more verbose logs of memory allocations, and then you can use that to sort of suss things out. And you know, what things create heap unclassified? Basically things that we don't have good memory reporters for. I think I was familiar with one related to fonts. Something to do with like web fonts. And we didn't have good memory reporters for that. And so it ended up in heap unclassified. Let me just put this documentation in here. Dark matter detector. But again, it's not really my wheelhouse. I'm not so good at the memory stuff. I can analyze the reports, kind of. I'm much better at performance profiles than I am at memory reports. Okay, so that's all of those bugs, but we've still got a lot of time left. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll try and answer some questions, and then I'm going to see if I can pull some more work out of my queue for us to work on. So let me pull up my dashboard and see if there's anything interesting there in the background. Meanwhile, let's answer some questions. Question 1 from the audience. Picture-in-picture. Current way to see all available control options is to visit this Sumo page. Would it be possible to add a small button, perhaps only when using pip for the first time, which could expand to show all available shortcuts or maybe direct user to this page? Yeah, this is tricky because it's not just a picture-in-picture problem. This is a Firefox problem where we've got so many keyboard shortcuts and we don't have a great way of communicating them to the user. In some cases we do. If like a user hovers like the reload button, you can see in there that there is a tooltip with a keyboard shortcut included with it. So I wonder if, the more we add controls to the picture-in-picture player window, we can have tooltips for them to indicate what the keyboard shortcuts are. The problem is, so there are a couple of problems. First of all, there's the general keyboard shortcut problem, because reload is an example of, we've got a tooltip for something, but there are lots of buttons and functions where there are keyboard shortcuts and we don't have a keyboard shortcut listed somewhere. And so one of the solutions that someone was suggesting a while back was like a shortcut HUD. This is something that people have been like tinkering with off and on for a while. I think Danny Colin, you in the chat, you'd been thinking about this. It looks like you had tinkered with an about shortcuts, which is a cool idea. It looks like we removed... Oh, yeah, the person who was originally mentoring this, they left Mozilla. So we've removed it from our mentored bugs list because this is a bigger problem. But if you're interested in reading up on this, I can supply the link. Shortcut HUD. I liked your screenshot, though, Danny Colin. This is from 2 years ago. I wonder if you could almost like take something that's like one of these work in progress patches as like a starting point, and then have someone create an about page that groups the shortcuts somehow. I don't know. It's a tricky problem. So yeah, there's the general shortcut problem in Firefox, and then there's the problem of picture-in-picture in general, where we wanted to sort of like strike a balance, because right now the controls don't work on every page. One of the problems with picture-in-picture is that we have to integrate with a bunch of web players that may or may not may or may not behave correctly whenever you just like seek using like the video element. Because whenever you like fast forward or rewind with the keyboard shortcuts with picture-in-picture, that's what we're doing. We are seeking the video element. And that works in some cases, but in others, it definitely doesn't. I'll pick an example. Netflix. It definitely breaks the video if you try and seek it using the keyboard shortcuts. So we have actually disabled the keyboard shortcuts for seeking on Netflix because it breaks the video. And so what we wanted to do was to build up site-specific video adapters that know how to wrap sort of the unique characteristics of a site like Netflix, so that, for example, you could have like a YouTube wrapper, you could have a Netflix wrapper that we could maintain separately from picture-in-picture, and then that wrapper sort of does the work of figuring out what you're supposed to do for a particular site for seeking or for pausing, or for, you know, muting and unmuting, and captions. And once you have that sort of adapter in place, then we can expose a lot more of the controls. Then we'd feel much more comfortable exposing like actual controls on the player window, exposing more controls on the player window. And then you could have tooltips on those controls for the keyboard shortcuts. So the keyboard shortcuts were almost kind of like this compromise of, you know, they're not very well exposed. Maybe even intentionally not very well exposed, because we don't know how well they work on many sites. They're kind of in some ways broken in some cases. And it's the same thing for the mute and unmute capability in picture-in-picture. Like if you go to here's an old Joy of Coding video, and I open this up in picture-in-picture. Come on YouTube. I think I freaked it out by hitting play too quickly. So if I open this up in picture-in-picture, I have a mute and unmute button, which works on YouTube, but it doesn't work on some sites. In fact, on some sites, mute will work, but then unmute won't, so you'll be like stuck in muted mode. And so this is only enabled on Nightly, the mute and unmute button, because we're not comfortable yet with shipping it, because we don't want users to get frustrated with the feature. You know, why isn't unmute working? And in order to make it work properly, we need to finish up these site-specific video adapters, and there's just like a bunch of work in progress to do that. So we might have some more students. Historically, we've had a bunch of students hack on the site-specific video adapters. We haven't been able to dedicate any like full-time engineering resources on it, but hopefully soon. So I can see this being a path to having keyboard shortcuts be more like visible for picture-in-picture, is to just make more controls and then have the tooltips talk about, like, to have the tooltips describe the keyboard shortcuts. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, the biggest issue with shortcuts is that they're not registered in one place. That is exactly the problem with the general keyboard shortcut problem. Keyboard shortcuts are not all registered in one place. Yeah, you have to kind of like gather them, and that's a hard problem. Are there any newsletters that you are subscribed to? No, I don't subscribe to newsletters. I don't have any that I'm subscribed to. When it comes to planning daily events, do you use a traditional calendar, a digital calendar, or something else? I use a combination of Google Calendar, Remember the Milk as my to-do lists. For my to-do lists, I think that's how I do most of my scheduling, is with Google Calendar and Remember the Milk. And for work stuff, I will periodically, for work stuff, I'll set need infos on myself in Bugzilla. So that helps with planning, I guess. It helps give me a queue of things. And that kind of segues nicely into choosing the next bit of work to do. So I was need infoed on a bug that I think we can take a look at. Yeah, this was a problem with a test, an intermittent test failure. Here, this is way too big of a font. Intermittent test failure in some of our performance tests for what's called DAMP. DAMP is our DevTools code. And this is very similar to something that we fixed a couple of days ago, or a couple of episodes ago. If I remember correctly, there was like an episode where we fixed a Talos. Yeah, here in bug 1723729, which Heis is already attached to. We solved this, so I think DAMP probably suffers from the same problem, and we can fix it. So how do we reproduce this? The first thing I want to do is, I actually want to reproduce the issue. I don't want to have to, whenever we do these crashes, let me actually take a look at the crash log. Talos test, DAMP, and then we crash here. make file input stream, because there's like a missing Chrome or resource URL. Pageloader.xhtml. That was one. And then there was one that was like tart or damp.ico. Is that correct? Blank icon. I actually don't see that in here. Let's open up the raw log. I don't see that in the log. Blank icon. I don't think that's actually the problem, folks. The URL in question is cited here. I'm not sure what should be checked and by whom. That was 9 days ago. Missing Chrome URL. So yeah, it's page loader. The test in question, the logs and the comment 0 don't show an attempt, a failed to load Chrome / tart content blank.icon.html. What I see instead is an attempt to load page loader, which fails, and then we crash. So I'm going to get rid of the C also. So this is, well, I'll keep it because it's kind of related. It's the same class of problem, I think. So this isn't exactly the same as bug 1723729, but it's a similar class of issue. Let me see if I can figure this out. It's intermittent too, which is kind of frustrating. Because bug 1723729 was like a perma failure, wasn't it? Oh, we put in some kind of like we put in an exception for it, and that patch allowed me to remove the exception. So there's no exception for this one, which is why we're crashing. But for some reason, it seems like some of the time we attempt to load pageloader.xhtml and then we fail. So what is attempting to load pageloader.xhtml? This is when we try and run, what are we trying to run here? What test? Well, this is after a bunch of tests run, after damp runs. And then we try and run something else. What are we trying to run here? Test start, wait for browser, profile. What's it trying to run? Let's get past this crash report. It's a big old crash report. Does it tell us what it was trying to run? For damp, I guess, yeah. So maybe it was trying to run it again, or are there like multiple kinds of damp tests? It's a suite damp. Tests damp. Page sets, TP5N, and the number of tests. Oh, there's just the damp tests. The damp tests again. And like damp seems to work. It does a bunch of stuff. It reports a bunch of results here. and then we run something else. So, oh, we only ran 5 cycles, 1 cycle. Server protocol.js damp. Okay, well, let's take a look at the damp source code. The damp source code. Damp. Oh, yeah, Smurf D wanted to point out about newsletters. I don't subscribe to any, but I do write one. I do write These Weeks in Firefox, which if you're interested in, you can read at the nightly blog, which gives some interesting updates on things we've been doing in Firefox land. So if you want to check that out, here it is. What am I doing? I'm looking at damp. So damp. It's under Talos, I think. Talos. Damp test. Talos test dev tools. Dev tools at maximum performance, aka damp. And how does that work? If we look at the definition of damp, Talos test.py, it is a page loader test. It's supposed to load page loader as well as dev tools. So do we need to somehow do something to wait for page loader to be fully loaded before before proceeding? GL terrain. That's not what I wanted. Page loader tests. What are page loader tests that load extensions? T-resize. T-resize. So does T-resize do anything to wait for things? It just like loads the script. And does anyone load pageloader.xhtml inside of damp? That's interesting. Nothing attempts. Something wants to load pageloader.xhtml. Is here, and the only reason it would fail is if page loader the only thing that attempts to load pageloader.xhtml is the module for which, like, the only reason it wouldn't exist if it was missing would be if hadn't been installed yet, but the code that accesses it is part of the page loader. What? Chrome. Do we do some like, oh, Chrome registry, register Chrome on startup. That makes sense. If we like, if somehow this thing races a little bit and sometimes can Talos start happen? Try load. Load this. Register Chrome handle. Try import Talos powers parent profiler. We try and load and then we start. So does register Chrome, what does this return? It comes back with an RAII helper. Is it possible that we're racing somehow? Register Chrome. How does this work? We insert registry entries. So like that should work. Where was I? Sorry, I got misplaced. We register page loader from manifest URIs, manifest.json. Oh, wait a second. AOM startup. Fishline try load is used to wait for Talos powers to be around. I feel like this is trying to solve the same problem. And I wonder if we can add to it. Basically, we poll to wait until the extensions are all like around and available. So does page loader provide anything that we can try and like load? Page loader. Talos. Testing. Talos. Page loader. Chrome. Well, we can try and just import pageloader.js. Does that do anything on execution? Like, can I, if I just, I think just defines a bunch of functions. It should be fine for me to just do that. There was an attempt to get us off of page loader. Okay, here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to update the damp test here. Tests, DevTools, add-on API. I'm going to update this one. Oh, I wonder if that is the issue, is that this one's not waiting like the other one does. API.js. What is it? Tresize. Tresize API.js. API. Damp. on startup. Wait, no, I've gotten confused. What was the thing that was like requesting the timeout? Talos powers parent.jsm, I seem to recall. Talos powers. Was it resource? Page loader API. Start test. So is it possible that what calls damp start test? Return damp start test. What calls this? Driver. Yeah, okay. I got a feeling the damp test in particular does not wait for this. Talos start. Wait for okay. Yeah, okay. Does damp require the page loader? That's my next question. Does damp require the page loader? Like it loads damp.html, which loads the driver. That's the only reason. Oh, my brain. Okay, let's take a look. You know what? It probably bases itself off of Tart. So what does Tart do? Class Tart. Also a page loader test. What does Tart do? What? Manifest. It says like, yeah, go to tart.html. Well, wait. If page loader is what ultimately sends... Oh, my brain. If page loader is what ultimately sends us to damp.html, which loads driver.js, which calls damp start test. No, this doesn't make any sense. This makes no sense. Why would this fail? Register Chrome. Remind me again what this means. Dynamic Chrome registry entries and returns an object with a destruct method. The base manifest URI for the entries. URL values resolved relative to this URI. So it just finds manifest and then it puts content, page loader, and Chrome. Manifest.json root URI. Oh man, my brain is absolutely melting. Oh. Okay, I think what we can do actually is just verify our assumption that this is where we're failing. Is when we attempt to open this window to load this URL. What crashes? Is it a parent process that crashes or the content process that crashes? Close these things. Close these things. Too many open things. What is crashing? Process crash. Process crash. What is crashing? Thread 0. This is thread 0, right? Yeah. Is this going to tell me if this is... Yeah, this is, I think, the parent process, XRE main. In response to some JS, in response to opening the window, we attempt to load the URI, and then we crash. Because these things are missing. Check for broken Chrome URL. How does that work? It works by attempting to get ignore test hits. Fluent likes checking for files everywhere and expects failures. Ooh, we can debug here. Dump the JS stack, that's handy. Get spec. How are we determining that it's missing? Check for broken. Get the scheme. Get the file path. We check for what was this on the stack? It was make file input stream. Okay. If the file's not found, okay. The file was not found when trying to get file input stream. For a directory. Checking to see if it's a directory. Yeah, I think this is some kind of race where registering this stuff. Register Chrome. At some point we like insert into some kind of registry. Who reads this stuff? How does the Chrome registry? New array jar, new array jar, new array zip, decode blob. What is this thing? What does it implement? What interface does this implement? Observer and add-on manager startup. like, there's a thing that knows how to map from a Chrome URI to the file system. Entry register. Registry entries register. Ah, here it is. Chrome registry manifest processing content. Overrides content. This is where it would happen. Manifest content from the Chrome registry. How do we get this logging? I wonder if this logging would be interesting. Console. What's the console service? Man. All right. Well, do we see anything related to that in here? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Okay, here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to push to try with some logging. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and determine when this fails, where in the file system it's looking for something. So the way I do that is we're going to go to, yeah, here. Check for broken Chrome URL. What does the load info have? Load info. Load info. Does it have like the file URI that it's trying to get? Result principal URI, unstripped URI. This is all not relevant. Okay. Yeah, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go into pageloader.js and we're going to say page loader API, and we're going to say dump registering page loader Chrome, dump done. Dump attempting to load page loader.xhtml, dump done. It's wild because page load, or like API.js, page loader content. Page loader. Talos, page loader, content. How is it registering? Content, page loader, Chrome. How does this work? Content, form autofill, Chrome content. Yeah, what is the API here? IDL. So it's entries, an array of arrays, each containing a registry entry as it would appear in a Chrome manifest file. Only the following entry types are currently accepted. Locale, an array of arrays. Only the following array types are currently accepted. Locale and override. A locale is a 4-element array, and an override is a 3-element array. Right. Content, we're saying it's like what would appear inside of a manifest. So what we're saying is we're registering some content in the page loader namespace, everything under Chrome /. So that page loader content, pageloader.xhtml maps to in here. That's what that means. Makes sense, I guess. So I've got my logging in here. Now I'm going to add logging where we just were. Sorry, I have to find it. File input stream. In NS file channel. Make file input stream. Could not check directory status on, and then that will be the file name. If I can get the full path. How do I get the path? File is of type NSI file. NSI file. Let me just take a quick gander at the interface. Path string, normalize, path, get the native path. That's what I want, native path. Okay, and native path, what's the type that it returns? Sorry, a native path returns a path string, and a path string is of type path value type. Path value type is, depending on the system, char16 or char. Okay. Oh, you're right. So depending on what, so this is just Windows, so I'm going to do this thing. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to say path string file path equals file native path. And then we're going to say NS string, wait, convert at UTF-8 to UTF-16. Otherwise, no, I don't want UTF-16. If this is UTF-8, you know what? I'm just going to say file path.get. Can I just do that? It'd be easier if I just did this to see whether or not this is even valid, because I know it'll execute. So let us try building this. See what happens. Anything in the chatter? Nothing. Are you all asleep? Hope not. I'm gonna wrap this up in a second, but I'm hoping that by the time the next episode airs, we'll have sorted out enough debugging information to figure out what is going on here. So this is an opportunity to let you know. Yeah, the joy of coding. If you have questions that you want me to answer, here, I'm gonna try and mock run. This is probably gonna dump a bunch of stuff. Could not check directory status. Yeah, okay. So it's printing correctly. Okay, at least on Mac OS. So what I'll do is I'm gonna put that here. And I'll say that this is like some debugging gunk for damp test intermittent failure. And then I'm going to rebase that because I've got a whole bunch of other... No, I don't need to rebase it. And then what I'm going to do is... yeah, I need to try push damp. Let's see here, damp. Okay, I'm just gonna run damp, mock, try, fuzzy, no artifact, because we need to build the native stuff. And what does this fail on? This is a failure on, here, I have to go back to the root bug again. Failure on what platform? Web, Windows 10, x86, web render shippable opt. Okay. So here goes. Wait, I'm gonna need to, before I do this, I better add my SSH key. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. And I'm gonna go mock, try, fuzzy, no artifact. I'm sad I didn't get to draw anything. I didn't get to draw for you for the first Joy of Coding. I didn't have an excuse. Hey, I know something fun. Any requests for me to draw something? Like pick a funny I don't know. Pick an animal. I'll try and draw it in like 30 seconds, and just drop it in the chat, and that'll be my excuse for using the drawing surface for this episode. Pick anything, any small animal. A sheep, Snoopy. Okay, I'm gonna draw a sheep and Snoopy in just a second. But first, it's like Windows, Talos, damp, Windows x86 damp. No, Windows damp. Not debug, not web platform, not browser time, not Moki test. Just trying to, yeah, here we go. It's one of these. Now, was it with software render, web render, shippable? I think it's just E10S, so we'll do that one. Okay, and now, without further ado, I will attempt to draw a sheep and Snoopy. Here goes. Okay, a sheep. Oh man, that's too big a brush. I need to like do a better job of controlling the pressure of this thing. Whoa, where'd that come from? I think I accidentally hit a key. Okay. Kind of looks like it's got boots on. Okay, there's a sheep talking with Snoopy. So I need to like move this character. How can I do that? How can I do that? I've never used Krita before, so I'm new at it. Presumably I can just do that and no. Can I control X, control V, and then move? No. Can I, is there a tool for, is that the move tool? Yeah, there we go. Okay. And now Snoopy. Please don't sue me. What is it? The beloved estate of Charles Schultz. All right, here we go. Snoopy. Wait, am I using the right tool? How do I draw? Which tool did I need? This is the line tool. No. Paintbrush tool. No. What's the default tool? Is it this one? No. Nope. What was the tool I was drawing with before? Does anyone remember what the tool was? Oh man, what's the default tool in Krita? No, I just tried that one. Was it this one? No. Is it this one? I just tried that. Why do I keep repeating that? Is it this one? No. Wow, what happened to my sheep over here, by the way? It got all fuzzy. Okay, clearly I need to just like get better at this tool. I don't know why I can't draw anymore. Is it because I'm using the wrong color? No. Is it because I've got a very small selection? That looks like a very small selection. So clear selection. And now can I draw? There we go. All right, let's get back to the color black. So here's Snoopy. I'm gonna try drawing Snoopy. Oh, already I can tell it's not very good. Nope. Not very good, but it's the best I can do in short notice. There you go. I thank you for tolerating me as I learn my new drawing tablet. But there you go. A sheep talking to Snoopy. What's Snoopy saying? Snoopy is saying, whatever. Whatever. That's a stupid joke. All right. Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much for watching episode, what was this? Episode 200 and... Hang on, let me go back to my screen here. This is episode 263 of The Joy of Coding. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week whenever maybe I can do some explaining. Hey, that's the thing. Yeah, ask your questions and rate this episode. Maybe if there's anything you want me to like a diagram you want me to draw about something, now I can do it. So in the rate this episode part, in your questions, you can fill that in. Now I can draw for you. So there you go. Thanks again for watching. Take care. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Hold on a second. I gotta play myself out. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.